p.m. on November 15th. And this is the City of Snoqualmie EDC Commission, and I am Chair Bobby Harrison. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be available at the city's website. Thanks for joining us. So just confirming, because I cannot see online, we currently have Rob McDonald and Nicole Pass.
Here.
Morning.
Oh, good morning. Is there anyone else? I know Larry and
Joelle.
Oh, and Joelle's here. And Ryan and Larry were going to join us. So we do have quorum. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so first on the agenda will be approval of the minutes dated October 18th, 2023. There a motion by?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, excellent. So on to the second item, the old business community liaison report.
Good morning. So what's going on in Snoqualmie? A lot. We're gearing up for the holiday season. The city parks department has been working really hard to do all of the holiday lighting. We ended up having to, which is a good thing, but ended up having to replace much of the inventory. So we're starting fresh. I think some of the work that we're doing this year is going to set us in a good way next year, so that we're going to get some really good systems in place and just make things more efficient. So they're finishing, thankfully for the good weather this week, they're finishing up the things downtown this week. And we also have an installer who did some of the work, did the train, the snowplow train, also did all of the lights on Center, which are on. They look beautiful. Those lights on Center will be on till the middle of February. Also, what's happening today, I don't even know if you guys are aware of this. Sometimes we just don't look up, right? We just kind of look straight ahead. But we have a pole banner program in the city. It's something that I coordinate. Some of it is through Arts Commission, and some of it is just through Economic Development and Tourism. But the Snoqualmie Winter Lights banners, those are going up on the poles today. So we change those out 3 and 4 times a year. As part of the holiday season, the Arts Commission, they've been doing some murals downtown and sometimes up on the ridge at the library. So we're going to be doing a mural. Carousel so graciously hosts their window. The Arts Commission has been bringing Lawrence Larry the elk to the community seasonally on the window. And we're going to be doing I'm wondering if, Andrew, could you go let someone in at the front door? For some reason, the door strap isn't working. It's Kelly. But the Arts Commission is sponsoring a window up on the library, and it will be Lawrence and Elkie, and they will be welcoming people in for the holidays. So the Arts Commission is kind of excited about that. The tree lighting event, which will kick off the holiday season. Well, I should say the holiday season is kind of kicking off. All the lights in town will be on Thanksgiving. Some of them are on now. We're doing some testing, but the lights will come on Thanksgiving. And then the main tree comes on December 2nd, Saturday, which is the tree lighting. The time has been changed this year. It's from 4 to 6 instead of 5 to 7. We're doing that to be a little more neighborly and of what goes on in North Bend and Falls City. So we're going to do ours just an hour earlier, and Santa and the mayor will come in on the train at 5:30 and light the tree. There's a lot of energy going on between the city and the downtown merchants to help activate the other side of the street on the retail side to provide warming stations and activities and things to keep people here and enjoying what's going on. So that's a good partnership going on in that area. Let me check my notes. The downtown merchants are also working hard to provide some entertainment every Saturday in the month of December. Victorian carolers will be downtown 2 to 4. It's something they did last year and they expanded it. And they're doing some programming and activation every Saturday from Thanksgiving until the 23rd of December. The city, myself, we've partnered in that I've helped them with the design and the marketing, and we're just trying to do some promotion on that. On the 9th of December, the downtown merchants will be the theme will be open house. And we're bringing a Santa. It's Santa. We'll just leave it at that. It's Santa. It's Snoqualmie Santa. And he's going to be in the gazebo on the 9th from 11 to 4 for children to come visit Santa. I've heard from people in the community the last couple of years that it's a very hectic night when Santa comes in for the tree lighting. And I've witnessed it myself. There's been some children with special needs that want their time with Santa, and it's just a little too chaotic on that night. So we're carving out some time specific on the 9th from 11 to 12 that will be specifically for children with special needs so that they can take the time and be with Santa and not be overstimulated or whatever the case may be. Bobby, you look like you have a question, and Joelle too.
Yeah. How does the community sign up for that?
We're doing a press release and just trying to communicate it that way. I want people to enjoy it. I want the word to get out, but truth be told, I've been kind of had a few sleepless nights worrying that I'm going to have demand and I'm not going to be able to meet it. So I'm going to hope for the best. But I'm not going to, I am not going to turn I'm not going to turn that demographic away. I'm going to let them get through the line. If it comes to that, I don't even know if it's going to come to that. But we're also working with Encompass to help spread the word about that. So.
And then just my one concern would be the accessibility. I saw that the
Yes.
concrete was poured on each side.
Yes.
But is one side going to have a ramp that goes up?
So
for
I'm glad you
wheelchair
asked that, Joelle, because I know we have had some offline conversations about that. And so the steps are done. There are no railings.
No railings,
I
yeah.
did ask about that. Apparently per code, they weren't required. So that's why they aren't there. And I am going to be renting a ramp that a wheelchair could get up into the gazebo. And so we will have that so that we can serve everybody.
So there won't be any, per code, you're saying that they don't need.
Per code, there's no requirement for the railings.
Because even with me with a bad foot, like I went up there just to kind of identify the space for a tree yesterday. And I'm like, this is a little hard for me to walk up.
If
So-
I'm being honest, I was a bit surprised, which
Yeah,
is why I have this
I
information, because I followed up with the engineer to say, oh, I see the steps are done. Where are the railings? And that was the answer I was given. So
Okay.
I'm apologize.
Is there a workaround?
I honestly feel like it's a really important thing because
I sense my former Parks and Public Works Director, City Administrator coming up
perfect.
behind me with this smile on his face and perhaps an answer.
Phone a friend. Hi.
He's gonna come up and rescue me.
We would like railings there. The problem is if we start doing things that aren't following regulations, we incur additional liability. So there's extra steps we have to go through and contact our insurance company and make sure it's okay that we put railings up. That's basically what it boils down to.
yeah, I would strongly like to encourage that process continue. For instance, like last year, we've sponsored the tree each year for the last few years, and I couldn't even have my parents come up and walk up there because they had to kind of look from afar without the accessibility. So
Understand?
thank you.
I think that's my update. I just think that because I just haven't had enough caffeine this morning, but if there's any questions or if there's anything that I haven't, I know Kelly, this is how we tag team. She listens to what I have to say and then she follows up with more. But yeah, let me know if there's any questions or anything I've missed.
Well, thank you for doing the lighting sooner,
Yeah.
sooner this year. And there's a lot of excitement
Yeah.
that we've seen with customers strolling through downtown saying, look, the lights are going up, the lights are going up. And so it is creating some earlier activity.
And I should say, I am personally very pleased with, I'm just going to say it, with the lights downtown and the garland. We missed the mark a bit last year and I lost my mind a little bit and we did it. And I actually had a staff person say that for a long time, they had been green lights and now I project manage that and I prefer white. And so I think that the downtown, the garland and the lights, I think we really nailed it. I told the crews, I'm like, I'm giving you an A+ on this one. So
I think it looks fantastic.
Cruising through to grab Starbucks up on
Looks really
center. It looks
center looks
lovely,
beautiful.
coming down to the train and the whole city looks great.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
fabulous.
I think I say this all the time, like I'm a broken record. It's just when I came to this community, this is a value. This is an expense. It's a resource, but it's very important. I think it helps business, it helps economic development. It helps, I mean, as we know, Joelle and I talk about this all the time, we get a lot of repeat people coming into our community so that they don't have to venture over the pass and go to unknown, I won't name the city, but you know, we're that little small city with, I feel like, holiday vibes, and I think we're doing it well, but it is a commitment of resources and it's both money and staff. But I think it's very special, and I don't think that you see it in other cities. I don't see it in the hometown that I live in, you know, and
Well,
so-
the merchants even bring up how we initiated to expand the time frame into February is
Yes.
very appreciated.
yeah,
Because
this is
that's
the
a really
second year that we're doing that. And I think that what I up there on the ridge, I like to use the word, we've been talking about this. I'm going to start saying Ridge District, Downtown District, Meadowbrook District. I think it kind of encompasses it better and it helps inclusivity and doesn't make it so separate. But I think that the white lights are classic, and it doesn't really say Christmas holiday. It allows us to go into that beyond holiday season. And I think downtown,
It's just
more flash of color. And staff's often like, Nicole, can we do color here? And I always say to them, I'm like, it's Griswold here and it's downtown Bellevue, all white here, and we land in the middle. And I've got a couple of guys on the crew that we see the same vision. And so I think if you want a little color, come down here. Sorry, I guess I'm pretty passionate about the lights, as you can tell. So, okay, anything else? Right on.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Great, Kelly.
Okay, man, I got follow up with that. Okay. So I have a lot of stuff happening. And one of the things that I just want to tell you guys is our businesses are seeing a decline in sales for this year compared to last year. I thought maybe we would have a difference in another month, but it seems like it's taken over. So the recession. And I hate to say that word, so I'm not going to say it again. So, but we are seeing quite a bit of change. So, what we're doing is we are activating starting on Monday. It's called Shop the Valley. We are doing again last year. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but we did a money giveaway. So we gave close to $2,500 in each city in an unincorporated King County. It made a huge impact. I think we had 1,500 entries in that, which to me was a pretty good thing. This year, we're doing a little bit more. We're also including a media campaign. And so we are doing a social media campaign with the hashtag Shop the Valley. We're doing local business spotlights. We're doing share your Christmas or share your holiday experiences and stuff also on things. We're doing radio and TV ads. Very excited about that. Right after this, I go into Star 104.5. 101.5. Yeah. Okay. It's Star.
Yeah, that was the hit top 40 station.
Yes. So we're doing a lot of stuff with them. It's Lotus Media is how I know it. So there's 3 other radio stations. So in all, we'll have probably about 300 ads that'll be in radio and TV. So very excited about that. In conjunction, we also started doing more marketing for our app. And I don't know if anybody is on Facebook, but you'll see that app everywhere. We're calling it a mobile concierge instead of an app. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, but people started downloading it more when we called it that. So along with that, we have ability to do a bunch of things. We have the events about to go on today for downtown Snoqualmie. It'll have list everything every single day. We're going to try and get a really cute graphic as well to put that out there to get people to click on it. We are also doing, again, the cash giveaway is the big thing that I think people will do. And what that is people now don't tell anybody, but I have to do it by law. It's $25 receipt has to be uploaded to be entered, but you really don't have to. So you can just enter to win, but we're saying that you have to do a $25 receipt. And I will say last year, 99% of the people did. So I think that'll happen again this year, but I can't not just, I have to include everyone legally. So anyway, that's the disclaimer on that. So don't tell anybody. I just wanted you guys to know.
Don't say no purchase necessary.
That's right. Do not say. It has it on the very bottom, no purchase necessary, but our whole intention is to really get people to shop. We're really trying to do special, like little other advertisings. We're trying to do a couple of videos. We have videos that we did several years ago that we brought out of the vault, and we'll be putting that on social media as well. So very excited about that.
And then Katie has the little story about that.
Yep. So that'll be that. So downtown has a lot of stuff that we can work on. But anyway, there's lots of more interviews. We have been inundated with magazine requests the past couple of weeks. So we're starting to get our name more out there. We are, as a chamber, going to be doing a DMO. So that is a destination marketing organization. And we're going to be doing that for the entire valley. My board just voted on that. So we're going to see, I've been talking to the state Department of Commerce, been talking to the state tourism. And in order for us to get more funding here, I have to do that. So that's what we're doing. And I'm coming to the cities to let them know as well. I will have to get that, but it took 6 months for my board to say yes. So but we got it together. So we're excited about that. We have seen I will say, we're going to try really hard to not focus on the elk this year as well. We have anybody that's ever seen anything about Snoqualmie it's been the elk. And so I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but there are crazy people coming out to see our elk. Stopping traffic and stopping, getting out on the street, literally, and stopping traffic. And I'm just like, and they run to the elk. So I just don't understand that whatsoever. So we also are doing this campaign to not to leave the elk alone because it's starting to get pretty bad. We've had a lot of complaints on watching some of the websites and different things on tourism. They talk about us with the people being crazy on the elk. So it's just an interesting thing that's happened. And so it's just something that we're going to grab a hold of. And I hope that we maybe get the city to put it on there as well. If there's anything that has to do with the elk, just say, stay away from the elk.
Or visit Larry and Elkie at the window.
That would be a great thing. That would be a great thing. Yeah. So anyway, that's just something that has also been a huge phone calls and different things that we've having to deal with. The Snoqualmie Pie Company was showcased in 425 magazine on page 30. And also Stanford Lee, who is the CEO of Snoqualmie Casino, was the CEO of the year for 425 Business. And so he's on the front cover. So Snoqualmie has had a really good month and some publicity. So really excited about that. We have the wedding guide that's about to come out as well. For those of you who do not know, our weddings have increased here. We think there was over 350 weddings that were in the valley this summer. It has made a huge increase in heads and beds. So Snoqualmie Inn has really done very well with that. They have a shuttle that goes.
Gonna say, I
Yep.
saw it going to Salish this weekend consistently.
Yep,
which was
and that
really
is one of the biggest helps. So when we go to Seattle in January for the Seattle wedding show, Nicole's going to go with me on that. And last year we did great. And so this year in our wedding guide at the back part of it, we're not just a wedding guide. We're the tourism for people with weddings, so their parties can come out and visit Snoqualmie. So that's part of also the marketing campaign on that wedding guide. So very excited about that.
Can I add to that?
Mhm.
Just to add a little bit, performance measures. The wedding guide is something that I've supported with the city with. Kelly and I often leverage our different opportunities with the Port of Seattle grants. So one of the grants, we help leverage the wedding guide. And when we attended the wedding, this will be the third year you've done the wedding show. It'll be the second year I've done the wedding show. It was, the proof was in the pudding. Like, I mean, I helped book a wedding up at our Snoqualmie Point Park directly from that event. And I think Lori got 80 different room blocks for people at her hotel that came out of that wedding show. So it is definitely worth the effort and the weekend for us to spend in the trade show booth.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is definitely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work though, standing up all day at the trade shows.
Yeah, it is. It was a lot. You got to wear comfy shoes. The other thing I just want to pivot on, like you said, with the 425, Kelly and I both in the last 5 years have spent some good advertising dollars with 425. And two things have happened. One, they give us free advertising. They'll often call and say, Nicole, I have this, do you have something? And I'll put something together. The other thing is that they see us as what was my goal is we are an East Side city. We might be 25 miles from Seattle, but we are an East Side city. We are not just this little city, and they see us as such. And it is evidence in when we get the coverage in the magazine.
They did a
And
great job.
there 2 months ago, there was 2 pages, and one was the running store and the other one was our splash pad. And I failed to tell Mike Chambliss that we'd gotten coverage about that. So I know I sat on my table at home for the longest time and I kept meaning to bring it into. And Kelly, 2 more things I hijack and then I'll let you talk. This is how we roll.
No, this is how we
The funding that I often use for lighting and stuff is LTAC. I'm hoping I don't know how much that funding is going to continue in the future. So I need to have a conversation with city leadership that we need to try to maintain some of that funding from the Salish. And also doing a new program this year with Snoqualmie Inn, supporting it. I paid for the marketing, doing a Snoqualmie Lights room, like a room package, a room block. So we're keeping our fingers and toes crossed that we can get some people in the hotel during the holiday season. That's kind of their slow season. So we're doing what we can. So I'll try not to hijack your.
No,
report
that was
anymore.
good. And one of the things too that's happening in December, which we're really excited about, is Snow King is having all their tournaments in Snoqualmie instead of other cities. So we're going to leverage that as well. And that's where we've got some things that we're working on with Snow King. They have all of our new magazines. You should be getting in the mail the visitor guide, community guide very shortly. It should have been here yesterday or up to Friday. But the whole point of it is to connect everyone with the app, with the magazine. So they have, we have a poster that's going in at Snow King too that has the app. Mobile concierge for people to download as well. So we're trying everything we can to keep them to shop, stay here. And I think it'll make a big impact, really big impact. And along that same route, December 15th is skate. You want to tell them about that?
Yes. Yeah, this is the second year that the city, the chamber, and Snow King have partnered. So Friday the 15th is the last day of school before winter break, and they do a free skate. And last year it sold out. 400 people. I mean, Wendy's worried. Wendy
She's
Rogers
scared.
she's scared that we're going to have unhappy people because there's only so many skates. Emily, you were there last year with your son. It's just a really nice event. And there was a lot of people from the community and the outlying neighborhoods, but just to bring awareness, there's still people in the community that are not aware that that facility exists and that it's a recreational social activity. And there was kids from kindergarten to high schoolers. So it was a really nice, it was a good event.
Santa.
Oh yeah. And Santa was on skates. Yeah. It was an interesting story with Santa. He had retired and had never skated before and decided he needed a hobby. So he learned how to ice skate and play hockey, and he decided to be Santa on the
Oh,
ice.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And they stepped it up this Christmas as well. So every day they have something going on for Christmas in the month of December. So from December 1 to January 1, they have really stepped it up to do some kind of programming for Christmas.
Are they doing anything collaborative with the businesses up in the ridge, like the restaurants or anything like that?
So
Yes, they are. That relationship is continuing to evolve. The one relationship that it really solidified this year was Snoqualmie Inn has become their designated headquarter hotel for any of their tournaments. And this year, I learned about the hockey community. Their tournaments are often on the 3-day holiday weekends. And with the 3 rinks that they have in Renton, Snoqualmie, and Kirkland, this year, I think Wendy was saying that Snoqualmie was chosen to be kind of the headquarter for these holiday weekend tournaments. And so we do have a Ridge Merchants group that we're starting to get together, and we're sharing that information. And Wendy just produced basically a newsletter notifying the businesses about this. And so Kelly and I are going to do our part to share that with everybody, particularly on the Ridge, because there's positive impacts, but oftentimes the businesses, they're, maybe they didn't staff accordingly, and all of a sudden there's all these families in town. So
Well, and that's kind of my thought, is to really spearhead that because of, staffing and also maybe self-promotion,
yes.
like 10% off if you say that you're
Mhm.
staying at the inn and eating here.
yeah, our app
We-
will.
We do have that. So the hotel as well as innovation, what is it? The restaurants, a couple of the restaurants, Mod Pizza, even a couple of the other local shops up in the hillside over here across the street. We get coupons from them and we put them in the team bags. So every team, when they come in to check in, they get a bag of information. It's their pen for the tournament, that they put on their, jackets and stuff, but they have a goodie bag or a welcome bag. And so all those coupons are all gathered, and we do get in touch with them typically 2 weeks prior for staffing changes so that they know that they should sort of bulk up or staff up for those particular tournaments coming in. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Larry.
Mhm.
And just again, so happy all the stuff that's happening with Christmas up there. It's exciting.
We're super excited and we're so happy that you guys, working with the city to spread the news and the awareness. Wendy's super excited. She gets way excited. So we have to strap her down and stuff. So, but she gets, this is the time of year that we really get an opportunity to work with the community more so than any. So we do have a themed month this year, and more so, everything's themed. We've got days for disco night and all kinds of weird stuff. But take a look at the calendar, and it's being shared out, and lots of help that's been provided from Kelly as well. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to this season. It's going to be a big season for us. We even got extra skates, so we can actually, yeah, we pulled out of inventory probably an additional 200-300 skates just in case.
Very cool. Yes. And on the app, we will have all of the events on there as well. Look for them. It'll have a special place there for the Snow King, and we'll also do banners for Snow King as well. So we're excited about that, doing that. The other thing I wanted to tell you about really quick, and I'm sorry taking so long. There is a lot of issues happening with theft as well. And we're trying to put something quickly together for the month of December. We're bringing in the Washington Retail Association and also bringing in the Chief Lynch will be there as well. And I think Nigel, Officer Nigel, what is Nigel's last name? What is it? Traveling. I always forget that. He's also going to be helping us with that. And one of the things that we've learned, and I think Joelle is probably one of our greatest teachers on this, is as long as you keep on to these people when they come into your shop and just say, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? Has been the biggest deterrent that we have seen. She taught us that. But there is a rise, and the city of Snoqualmie and the city of North Bend both have ordinances that have changed. We're also seeing some car theft as well. And thank you for the city council. Thank you for giving us a little bit of ordinances that actually helped and gave us a little bit. And then starting in January, we are going to the legislative, the advocacy part, and really working hard on trying to change some of the other laws that have made our police officers not able to do their job. So we're working on that.
And to continue to get the word out to that no call too small,
Mhm.
even if you suspect that something is missing and don't have clear evidence to call it in, because the more calls I get, the more, the more that they're going to be aware and around, and
That has been the biggest thing, because most of our, and we
Right.
found this out, don't call when things, so our police department didn't know that, some of this stuff was happening. So that has been, that we're also taking down to downtown and to up on the ridge, is make sure those merchants know that there's no call too small. So we want to know, they want to know. And so we're working on that in both cities, trying to make sure that that happens really well. So
Lynch was very adamant about that at the downtown merchants.
Mhm.
Just call 911, say non-emergency, and just report everything big or small going on. So
we want to make this town where it's hard to steal from. So our people are helped. Twin Peaks is coming as well. So Twin Peaks, if you've not watched Twin Peaks series, you better go do it, because we're going to be inundated with Twin Peakers is what we call them. It's called, I know it sounds funny, but that's what they call themselves. So it's, I know it's crazy. But it's called The Real Twin Peaks Days, and it is February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We have some amazing things happening in both towns. We're engaging even Falls City Roadhouse this year. Last year, according to the Placer AI, there were 8,000 people here during that time period. And so we expect that will probably be the same or more additional. Last year, we kind of intentionally didn't advertise, and we've sold out. And the reason being is because I couldn't get CBS to have conversations with me. So I did go and talk to 2 different attorneys, and they told me just go it and change it to The Real Twin Peaks, because that is where the filming. So I did. They've left me alone. So this year we're doing marketing like crazy. This summer we saw an increase in people from Europe that again, I can't explain why it's this way, but the Twin Peaks series it's a cult almost, and people from all over the world, they have groups. The guy that owns a bar in Paris, Pili is the name of it, came in town, and he has this whole group. I got to be able to show him around through the area, but he has a whole entire group of people. I think he said there's close to 1,200 people that's just in Paris. What do you want to tell us?
Were you done with that?
Yeah.
I just wanted to double back for a minute on the, if you can get the word to the merchants on that no call too small thing. The police department tracks calls that they get, and there's a category 1, 2, 3. Calls like what you're talking about would be category 3, just so you know. The response time, the average response time on those is around 4 minutes. Yeah. Tell me where else you get that. So the problem is that a lot of people might think, well, I make this call, someone's going to show up half an hour later, that, actually they show up on average for those type of calls. It's faster for the, category 1 or 2, but around 4 minutes. So they'll be there pretty darn quick. So if you could help get that word out.
We definitely are. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I also learned a very important lesson too from, don't tell them you're being robbed, because robbed means that you are at gunpoint. And I didn't know that. That's the first time I had no clue that was what that meant. So somebody stole something, but not rob. Did you know that?
I didn't, but well, I know what category 1 and 2 are. So yeah, so I didn't know that particular word.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's shoplifting you're worried about. But the point is, still they're going to be in it. You don't need the extra minute response time. 4 minutes is pretty darn quick.
It is very quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a great police,
100%.
totally awesome. So anyway, Twin Peaks, if anybody has any questions, with it, just know that we're gonna have a lot of people here during Twin Peaks Festival. We also, we have joined with, the Bellevue Chamber, and the East King County Coalition is what we're part of. We've been part of it for over 20 years. It's an advocacy group for, the entire East Side. So there's 11 chambers that all come together and we create position papers. And so we're doing that, really working hard on that. And one of the things that they're giving to us this year is we pay for a lobbyist, and it's the same lobbyist from Bellevue, Maple Valley, Covington, and Issaquah. And we are going to have a paper every week listing all of everything, the different laws and things that came through the legislative session. And it'll have a little brief description of every single one of them that's either coming up or has passed or didn't pass. So if you would like that, please contact me and I will be happy to get that off in the mail to you. We have to really start paying attention to a lot of it up here. There's a lot of things that are about to come that are for us to keep track of. And if anybody ever wants to go and testify in front of either the House or the Senate, please let me know, because there's so many things that we can use, business owners that can come up and do that. And I think this year they're still doing Zoom calls to testify, but I will say I love going up there and testifying because it makes a big difference. And along that same thing, we just held in Snoqualmie the thank you for the SR 18 for all of the transportation committees that came in and helped us. The tribe helped us. They paid for everything, and we went over to the new coffee place and had that out. And it was very well attended. It was really awesome to be able to see that it was a big impact for us to be able to be one of these days. If anybody wants to hear the stories of how we went in there, I will tell you, but not today. But there was a lot of people that put that together for the SR 18 to be fully funded. And it was just our way of telling everybody thank you. And so it worked out really well. And I think that made a big impact on the different legislators that are there as well. So we did that. That was last week. And I think there's lots more, but that will be what I will end with. But just know there's tons more stuff happening in this valley and in Snoqualmie.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the community development report.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. The department report's been included in your packet. I'll just highlight a few things for you. This has been an incredible last month. We did move the EDC's recommendation to the CD committee for the economic development element. It was a big lift, and a lot of great work went into that. So congratulations everyone for getting that across over to the next the group to review. I also want to just highlight that we had a very successful public outreach this past month at the library. With entire staff from the community development department and several other departments came together and showcased some of the work that we've done and some of the work that we're still doing. It was immensely beneficial for everyone. A lot of good information was exchanged, and I think people had a good time too. The city continues to work on several planning projects, including the rails, the self-storage, there's the crab commercial, and timber trails, the last subdivision of SR2. And also the Northwest Railroad Museum. Not much more to report than that, just kind of business as usual with building permits and a few pre-application meetings and business licenses. So,
And then, like we talked, do we have from last month, do we have any new businesses that have come into Snoqualmie or that are opening
yeah,
in the next month?
Ashley Ragg is online, our planning technician, and she did mention a couple new businesses. I'm not sure if Ashley, if you're wanting to talk about those two that you had mentioned this month.
Hey, I am not 100% sure which businesses you're referencing. I do get a lot of business license applications, and there is a lot of information I'm not legally allowed to divulge about it. But if I remember correctly, people had questions about like Musashi Sushi.
Yeah, do we have an update on them?
I do not recall if they have applied for a business license yet. Back at the beginning of the year in January, I approved a sign permit for them. I am not the keeper of business licenses. I just go through them, so I can't attest to whether or not they have had a business license go through our department. But yeah, they should have full intentions of opening a business. They have successfully acquired a sign permit. I believe that they've talked to the building department about tenant improvements.
Did we lose you? Okay.
Was there one
No.
other sign permit, Ashley, other than the sushi one?
I mean, Gear Automotive just applied for a new sign permit. There was another one, Church on the Ridge is finally putting up a permanent sign. But those are the two most recent ones that I've had in the last month or so.
Okay. Existing businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ashley.
Yeah.
Emily, is this when you're wanting to bring up the discussion with the EDC and the comp plan, or do you want to bring that with regards to? We're not wanting to target a specific business, but moving forward with code and changes and storefront, or do you want to do that during the
The policy tracker?
policy?
Yeah,
tracker?
sure. We could do it the policy tracker. Yeah, there's some new information that's been added,
Perfect.
based on the council's
Okay,
direction.
so we'll just
Okay.
have that discussion later. So do you have anything else for community?
No, not this time.
So I don't know who's doing the mayor's report.
Jeff's, Mike's here.
I'm not the mayor, but I'll go ahead and give you the mayor's report. Happy to report that a recommendation is going to be made to council at the next council meeting to permanently appoint Chief Lynch as the police chief. We will be holding finance director interviews at the end of this week and beginning of next week. And we will be holding fire chief interviews in the beginning of December. So hopefully by the end of the year, we will have several key positions and leadership filled. The plan for the remainder of those key positions, public works director, city attorney, some IT positions, et cetera, are to work on those first quarter of 2024. There's only so much recruitment we can cram into a period of time. So the other thing I kind of hint about our work plan for 2024. There's going to be a lot of focus placed on business licenses and B&O tax compliance, et cetera. We're busy getting the systems in place to be able to do it effectively, so we don't wind up with a false start where we're trying to do something and we really don't have the support stuff in place to get that done. So I expect to have that in place by the end of the year. So beginning next year, we will be a heavy focus on making sure that that's occurring.
Well, because one thing that the EDC wants to be able to do is kind of get it, I mean, as much as we legally can, because only so many things like Ashley alluded to can be disclosed, but here's this new business that's tentatively opening December, and then us as EDC can welcome them and go in there and say, why are you here? Not why are you here? What
Hopefully
drew-
make money.
Yeah. What drew
You knew what
to,
you did.
what drew you to the city instead of going to the existing that we love that are in our anchors like Carousel, but really try then to bring it back to council that this is what we've learned on the ground floor as we're, going to the shoe store and doing the new businesses. And so that's why it's I ask every month, what's a new business that came in and how we can support them. And again, as our retention and what we're wanting to, per the recruitment, that's what I'm looking for, within the comp plan, we can help support the city in that. So any of that information you can, big or small companies, you know, that would be great to help support you guys.
Got it. And then the last thing the mayor would like to thank, I think it was Joel that was on the line, giving the presentation during council about the accomplishments. And thank you for the report you prepared. It was thorough. It was complete. She was pleased with all the reports. So thank you for that. Have a great day.
On to election of chair.
Yeah, we're at the time where, and we could add on to the agenda about possibly canceling the meeting for next month in December, but we're at the end of the year where we would normally consider reelection or election of a new chair. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure exactly how you have done this in the past. Do you have anything in particular to read? No.
I know we've discussed just on that note for December to be canceled.
Yeah, we
So on
have.
that note.
So we could take, we could accomplish that and then move on to the next, to election of a chair if you'd like to do that now. Yeah.
It's up to the EDC.
Do-
Online.
Do we have any, Nicole, do we have any particular format for election of new chair?
Mike.
Mike's coming up. Thank you, Mike.
I'll give you one.
Okay.
Normally what would happen is members of the panel would make a nomination. Somebody would second it and then there'd be a vote on that nomination. So not to steal your thunder, but does anybody have any nominations for consideration for chair?
I would like to nominate Bobby Harrison for reelection to a second term.
I'll second that.
Okay, is it a second term or is it more of a term?
I don't know.
It was official January of 2023 because I was interim during 2021, I guess, during COVID online. Rob and I were to co, so it was official January of 23.
Yeah, the mayor would really like to see these rotate through the commission so that everybody's getting proper experience. You are our future leaders, and if it's the same chair all the way through, you would, you know, you're not all participating at the same level. So with that said, is that the only nomination?
Has there been anybody like online or within the commission that has self-nominated themselves that we're not aware of, or was that, because you can always self-nominate, I believe.
You can.
I'm not sure who's.
We don't know who's online.
We have everyone except for Chandra. I think Ryan should be on there, or at least said he was going to be on.
What might be helpful in the future would be to have some kind of document that outlines the responsibility of the chair and the specific duties. And then how long the term limits and things are, because I'm just so new to this. I don't want to be chair this coming year, but I would like to know more. I think it'd be helpful for the group.
Understand. Emily, bylaws exist, correct?
I believe so. I don't have a copy of them. I could provide those
Okay,
after the meeting.
well, I think we need to back up and get the bylaws straightened
Yeah.
out. Because
I think that's why,
how this process works.
and I think that's why I would be hesitant to, self-nominate or step up, because I don't know the full scope of the responsibility. And if I'm going to take on another responsibility, such as something like this, I would take it seriously and want to know the full scope of
Okay.
that.
in that case, my recommendation would be, and it's just a recommendation, is that you don't postpone the December meeting. You have a single agenda item on the December meeting, which would be bylaws and nomination of a new chair. And then Emily can work to get you all copies of the bylaws that explain everything. So that everybody is playing from the same rule book and deck of cards.
My other question would be, and I don't know if this is even a possibility with this type of commission, because there are so many different categories within the Economic Development Commission. Would there ever be a possibility of doing co-chairs, a co-chair position?
As far as I know, yes, because that's how Rob and I were set up to be co-chairs during COVID.
Right, that was just a question
Yeah.
that I was throwing out there. There was,
I don't have an
That was-
answer because I haven't read your bylaws, so,
Okay.
but it's certainly within the realm of reason.
So Mark Hoffman and Carolyn pushed that through. Not pushed through, that's not the right word, but that was the suggestion as everybody needed to navigate through COVID when she stepped down. So.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So, that's my recommendation. Emily, is we need to find the bylaws, so we do this right.
I agree. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Okay, so on to council priority tracker. Emily?
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up to share on screen. Just 1 second. There we go. Yeah, so this is the council priority tracker for the community development department, of which economic development falls within. And you may not have seen this, but this is something that the council has been working on over the course of many months since their retreat earlier in the year. And the reason why you're seeing it today is that it's been recently updated with some additional information requested by the Community Development Committee. And maybe Councilmember Mayhew would even like to speak about it since he's here tonight. But one of them, as you can see, is tourism. And so we've added that as a council priority. And I just wanted to draw your attention about how many areas of the priority that it actually falls within. So encouraging economic vitality, bolstering neighborhood livability, enhancing quality of life, and so forth. And as you can see that there's so many important areas that, involve tourism. Right now it's, intended outcome is ongoing economic vibrance. It's assigned as something for the Economic Development Commission to work on. It's not a new topic. You've continually seen it on your work programs in prior years, but I think that we need to get our hands on it and to kind of establish, well, what kind of level of effort do we want to actually formalize with tourism? And I know Bobby has some particular concerns and issues that she wanted to speak about tonight or this morning about that. So, yeah, Bobby, would you like to share those ideas? And, oh, by the way, I in the notes here on this column, you can see there's a few things that have been mentioned, including a trolley that would maybe circulate people from one location to another as the city continues to build out some of these large retail areas, including the mill site and, the casino and things like that. I think there's also been a sprinkling of interest in perhaps a farmer's market, and that was one idea that came out of the Economic Development Alliance and the memo that you signed. So those are two areas that have kind of loosely been identified.
Well, and just to dive into what the community is talking about, that does go back to tourism is what the plan previously, or what has been allotted, is to expand the Downtown Merchants Association is a long-term goal, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And now the new huge heavy lift that I'm not going to be popular in saying, that the community and the downtown merchants are very concerned about one particular business, not the business type that it is coming into the community because it's already here, but being the anchor. First off, if it ends up being the first thing that you see when you enter the city coming from the east side, that's a problem. Secondary is as the community gets developed, which is the city's plan, and it's also based on a comp plan that we just worked on as the EDC. If that gets developed, then that is the Sagello's, currently how Sagello's the beautiful anchor, as is Carousel on the other end. But now you have a non-retail, non-merchant business. So per our conversation, Emily, is how can we work through that and support something different going in there and finding a different location to keep those services within our community, not to get them out of the community, but keep them in the community, just not on our merchant storefronts that we want to revitalize and continue to grow and have anniversaries, which is amazing. Let alone in the long-term plan of the city, that would be, if we were to expand everything, that's the center. And that business isn't going to be leased there. They're going to own that building. So that's a different conversation. If they're leasing that and we're not developing that out 20 years, that could change and ebb and flow. And so from the EDC comp plan to exactly, I think Joelle probably has the verbiage of, we're wanting high-end restaurants coming in. We want to get there's the current situation of how we can have a workaround. And then B, if that does come in, how can we protect the merchants and that percentage of storefront on the first level going forward? So that's kind of the robust conversation that we feel that we need to have with city council. And I mean, we worked hard on that comp plan, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there goes that element of what we've worked on for a year.
And to recruit and retain the businesses that are already existing within the historic downtown. Historic downtown Snoqualmie is such a small one block area with very limited space. These are wonderful historic building, they're not all historic buildings, but I think the anchor coming in on both ends is super important to make sure it's the right business type in order to attract tourism, which we're trying so hard to continue to build on and not detract. And I feel like, with the EDC as a recommendation as a commissioner, as well as a business owner and downtown merchant, I feel like it's a strong detraction for tourism and for the activities and events and railroad and everything else that we've worked so hard to continue building. And this has nothing to do with lack of support with social services whatsoever. That's critical in Snoqualmie Valley, but that is my strong opinion.
In the last downtown merchants meeting, it
was very heated.
It was very heated. It was heated but positive. It was a robust discussion. So, and everybody's in the same, supporting the service, just not in that location in regards to merchants, EDC, and everything.
But to protect I think the heated part, so to speak, is how hard these downtown merchants, restaurant services have worked, to pull out of COVID and remain in business and then kind of step up and continue with this vibrancy and the tourism that is increasing downtown to continue. We want people to come. We want people to come year round. We want to create a habit of people coming to our historic downtown and coming back, with the winter lights, with the different activities. And this type of service is probably not the best face on Railroad Avenue, not just for the fact that it's within the historic district, but the fact of, how do I say this? Put my words right. It's my opinion that it probably doesn't serve the best serve the needs of the population that they are trying to reach. And it's a very vulnerable face of right on Railroad Avenue.
And that was brought up by other downtown merchants as well, is trying to be respectful to who's coming in to get financial services, and yet you have all these higher end boutique, high end steak, but restaurants that we're trying to, recruit. And so that's kind of putting money back into their face and not being respectful to the clientele that they're going to serve also. As someone that was sitting back in the merchants meeting, there was a fair amount that had no clue that this was even a conversation that was happening. And I heard, I will not disclose who I heard under their breath, but 3 different merchants saying my lease is coming up the next year or 2. This will make a factor. And they're people that have been here for years.
Mhm.
So from the EDC hat, I would like to know how not to blacklist them. We want them in the community. I can't, but as a EDC and merchants want those services in the community. It's needed. And I can't repeat that enough, but is how, if we can't help them find a different location for current, whether like you mentioned, the library or something different, how can we get this on a policy and plan to protect that in the future? Is kind of my question. Maybe Council Mayhew, maybe you could help with this. I know Emily said for us to come up with a game plan, but the city with Hoffman and in the past, we've seen kind of a game plan, and I don't know that that's still the city's game plan to develop, and it's complicated.
Yeah, so I think, so let me try and break down what you're sort of talking about into sort of a couple categories and then talk about, so I'll start with why this is added in kind of a focus for the Community Development Committee. And I'll also tell you, actually, this was discussed somewhat actually at the full council meeting, most recent full council meeting as well. But if you kind of think about, so if you take a step back, we can think about things that are long-term policy, right? Things that the city can do over time. So think about the millions of dollars the city put into the Railroad Avenue, the boardwalk, and the new the new parking, everything that happened there. That was a multi-year project that ended with what's there now. There was more to that vision. There is more to that vision. We actually have several, I want to say 3 development plans for downtown studies that were done by external consultants that kind of paint a picture of kind of how we could develop downtown. And some of that's what led to the prioritization on Railroad. There's discussion of what kind of businesses do you want to encourage to be on Railroad versus what kind of what kind of businesses do you want to encourage off of Railroad? And what would be the reasoning? So the critical mass for retail, how do services fit in with that? And, is it beneficial to a downtown to have services on your retail strip, or is it better to have them out? And if so, how do you, whether it's with zoning, whether it's with how the city spends its funds, whether it's how we try to sort of attract businesses, all of this is sort of things you've been talking about today. So kind of how do you put all that together into a plan? So prior to COVID, we sort of had a rough plan. There's sort of pieces that were coming out of those studies that were sort of lined up as priorities, and we were kind of moving in a direction. We were trying to encourage businesses consistent with that. There was sort of a plan. My sense of it was, I wouldn't sort of describe it as a highly developed plan, but I thought it was well understood by folks, or sort of everyone was kind of moving in a direction. Some of that was things like, we think about how do we develop our downtown merchants association into maybe I always get the name wrong. It's not model Main Street program.
Yeah.
How do we develop that? That's a big effort. How would that help? So just a lot of movement in a direction. So with COVID, everything sort of got blown up. And I think right now we're sort of thinking about, okay, wait a minute, let's refocus on this. Let's kind of put our plan back together, so to speak. Let's figure out what that plan should be, and then start to get moving on things that will help with that. So that big intro is a way of saying, my sense of the council, and certainly the Economic Development Committee, is we're really looking for input. What's the most important things that we could focus on? And this commission can play a huge role in that. Kelly, the chamber can play a huge role in that. There's really a desire from the council to hear what would be the most important, help us sort of formulate. So the comp plan, which is a big focus, this is something that only comes around every decade, is a big focus. So getting things in there that are supportive is really important. But those are at a fairly high vision kind of level, if you will. Now, how do we then, what specific projects, what specific policies can we change? What can we specifically do in the nearer term to really move on those things? I think that is something the council and certainly the Community Development Committee would like to sort of develop right now. That's sort of not something we have a sort of clear vision post-COVID on.
Well,
So
and that's, I think, what the EDC was specific with what we can do now for the specific, I don't want to put their name up there, but for this specific project, what we can do now, because it needs to be dealt with immediately.
Yeah.
And then continue forward,
yeah,
time with that.
exactly. So when you think about what can the council do, keep in mind this. Cities, for very good reasons, are prohibited from taking actions targeted against, generally are prohibited from taking actions targeted against one particular business. You can and should, as a council, take actions regarding types of categories of businesses, right? Categories of locations, but it can't be business specific. So to the extent that your concern is with one particular business in the very near term, there's probably not much the council can do with regard to that. But if you're just a little bit longer term, there's a lot the council can do. There's zoning, there's so on. So in the very short term, for any one business, the question is going to be, does the zoning permit it? Because property owners have rights. So, then the question is, well, if it's permissible now, are there other ways perhaps that we can influence what happens? Can we create, it can be done. Can we convince folks to do something different? Are there ways to kind of help them go in a different path? So you're probably more in that zone for anything specific in the short term. But longer term, still, to your point, if things are happening into where we need retail that aren't retail and aren't supportive of retail, then that means there's probably something wrong with how we've set up policies or zoning, and so we should change that sooner than later. And the other thing is, just moving a little bit more long term, the city spent millions of dollars and had the intention in the future to spend millions of dollars on how we develop downtown and redevelop downtown to make it successful. So things like I alluded to earlier, where are we going to put retail? Where are we going to put?
Is to be able to long-term from a merchant and retail side to protect that.
Yes.
That has been.
So the discussion is sort of since COVID. So, the last, believe it or not, COVID started almost 4 years ago. Is that sort of the time frame? So the discussion sort of has died down, and it's time to revive that. And this is the council saying, hey, we want to engage on this. So please help us know what's one of the things that we can get lots of information on is what are priorities for the state. We need to get pretty good information on what's priorities for the county. Knowing what's priorities for our city. Our city is not the same as other parts of the state. There are some cities that kind of fit real well into a bigger vision, not discontiguous towns like ours. So what would really be important to us? What should be specifically on that priority list? We really, I think, would like to see some clarity of vision around that and sort of agreement in the community and the council getting behind that. Administration as well is going to want to sort of be part of that and then get behind that. So I'm not speaking so much to your specific near-term thing because I'm not sure the council really has a role in that. But looking even 6 months out and beyond is a huge role, and we'd really like to get more involved and rebuild that vision and sort of a path. And we could really use input from you guys and from the businesses as to here's the 3 or 5 things that are most important. Zoning changes, develop this street, do something about, well, I'm not going to make things up, but do something about lighting here or parking there or whatever it is. Help us kind of get specific so we can then just focus on trying to do those things.
Well, and just to be transparent, which is what, when I took on this role in January, said that that's our ask is from city council and from the mayor to get specifics of where they want our opinions and our advice and is this conversation that we're having now. And this is the first conversation that we've had in almost a year. So
I would agree.
that is exactly what we asked in January as a council. And now we're here today having the first conversation, and we're still not, I hear your ask, but I don't hear the question of what the ask is. If you guys come to us and say, as a liaison from the city council, we're working on this from an EDC hat, how do you feel? Do you have an opinion? This exact conversation we're having now, this entire commission would have opinions to be able to get back.
That's great feedback. So with your permission, I'm going to take this to the Economic Development Committee, that specific request that you just made, and ask the committee to respond.
Community development.
So I think, we put it on our list. We want to move on it. Fine. Would have been great if would have been great if we were sooner, but that didn't, but we're here today. So let's move on it.
Yeah, because it looks like the EDC hasn't had these conversations. We haven't had someone to come and give us a specific, we're working on this. We need your commission's opinion versus we've all had these conversations on, again, this specific business, but then more robust conversations of, whoa, and I've even brought it up to Emily, like, we need to figure out how to fix this going forward.
Yes.
And protect what our mission is to do. But that has to be conversations being had that are being assumed that we're not doing anything, but.
Oh, no, just so you know, they're not assuming you don't know anything. They're just figuring out, we got to go ask. So fine. We'll do that. So I'll take that back next week's meeting, and then I'll report back to all of you, and or Emily will, or we'll all city get back to you and try and move on that, because we really want to do that at council, certainly at Community Development Committee, and we really want your input and participation in that.
All the letters that I signed off on in the last, let's say, 6 months that has been brought back were specific asks that we had the conversation and the dialogue within our meeting, got it done, changed some verbiage with the help of Kelly and whomever else, sent it back to council, came back to tweak again and done. So when we get asks, we get it done. But if we
Yep.
don't get asks, we can't do anything.
Fair point.
So
on that same note, I just want to, if there's nothing that we can do to keep that business opening where it's going to be opening here, is there other options that we can do to make it hard for instance, we have people loitering. We have a lot of other obstacles. Like right now, there's a for sale sign van, and there's been several that have been parked over there recently that should not be allowed to be downtown. It looks trashy and it's a really bad thing for us. Is there other options for us to make, maybe the entrance cannot be on Railroad? Can we do fines for loitering? Can we do fines for trash? In the past, we've had people that have set up little living rooms with things that they've gotten from the thrift store. So just, is there something else that we can do on top of this right now, just to ensure, to show them that this is we mean business, because this is important to our downtown, and there's got to be some options as well to keep the different money that's going to them. Can that be, if they mess up, can we take some of that money away? So it's on them to keep it where it should be.
So maybe city ordinances like the vintage hair with the new owners, you saw them instantly start to clean up the back, and even at the storefront, like, so maybe if there's some city ordinances, should they end up landing there, that can be
Really,
really enforced, which I
Yes.
do feel that the director of that business does want to continue to be a valid partner. So I think if the city can help corral that, I think she would be all for that, because she's a positive force in the community,
Yeah, so
but just keeping that integrity.
not dodging your question, I'll try and be clear. I just want to be, so couple things. Council hasn't had any discussion of that particular topic that you're on, that particular business. So I can't represent anything to you because I'm here as liaison for the council. They've not had any discussion. So I have nothing to report to you in that regard. I'm not dodging you, but I would say also that, remember, what council can do is set policies, ordinances, and so on. So yes, to that conversation, but in the short term, enforcement of the existing laws that we have, that's not what council does, that's what the administration does. So please talk to the administration, share your concerns. Those are great questions. Call staff at the city and discuss those with them. They'll be happy to discuss what can and can't be done. Have that discussion. The other part that you got to, or sort of I thought I heard, was, hey, what about, if we've got some business that we think is going to do something and we'd like to convince them to do something different. Certainly you can talk with the city about, but at the end of the day, the question is, we're here to enforce code, laws, zoning, and if someone is operating within those rules, then that's where government's role stops, right? So when we talk about things here, we're thinking about the longer term, right? The economic development. So we're trying to influence what will happen in the future. Yes, there's a role there, but the more acute or immediate thing is, it's something to talk with administration, and then honestly try to figure out how can, whether it's community leaders who are on council or folks out in the business community, can we talk to, this organization we have a concern about and try to make an impact? Those can happen, but that's not really a city role. Hopefully that makes sense. So city council more about long-term setting the rules. Administration will enforce the rules. So if you think rules aren't being enforced, please, that's who to go to, that they can act to the extent that that's the case. And then as far as just trying to convince folks, that's more of, a discussion, community leaders trying to see, how they can help. And so I don't really want to go beyond that discussion about any one particular business, because really government needs to be careful, right, about, all businesses should be treated the same under the law, right?
I still do have one question, which I've asked and haven't received a response yet, regarding the occupancy or the current occupancy of service versus retail in the downtown district, where we are with that 75-25%. Because if we were this super close, like we've been told or shared with at the last couple merchant meetings by Nicole and this was Rob Watton, that we were real close to meeting that threshold of service versus retail. Like, where do we stand right now with one additional business license coming into town if there hasn't been, you know, a permit or a, business license.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. but
Yeah.
Can they reach out? to
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I mean, we've looked at this and analyzed it and scoped it out. So we're currently at our meeting our compliance with our development code. So 75% needs to be retail and 25% could be professional. And we have the 75% right now. So
So that said, if we have the 75% right now, retail, and one person goes in with service, would that not be an allowable business?
it is allowable by code. So there's nothing that illegal about that particular business moving into that particular building. You know, it would still be compliant with the 75-25 split. It still would be allowed services per our municipal code. And some of them including allowed services by state law. So
So again, this is something that we could advise council to look at to change moving forward.
Yeah, and the path to that is the Community Development Committee, who, you know, I'm on that committee. That's why I'm your liaison, and I will take it to them this next week.
Yep, thank you.
Just maybe facilitate so that everyone's speaking the same language.
Also, real quick before I forget, after Nicole, if there's anyone online, of course, chime in on everything. We're kind of taking over here, but yeah, feel free.
I guess I'm kind of synopsing everybody so everyone's on the same page. So EDC, the chain of command, sequence of events, EDC reports to the CD committee. And then Councilmember Mayhew would entertain or discuss to have this discussion, bring your concerns, your questions to CD. And then if it was elevated, then it would perhaps be elevated to city council. Of course, every citizen, every business owner could always come to council and bring it to all of council's attention, but that's the sequence of events. So what Councilmember Mayhew is saying is, and what Emily is saying is currently per the code, we're dealing with what's in the code. So we can't, unfortunately for you, if I'm hearing you correctly, change the code to fit the immediate need. So when Bobby, you're talking about what is the ask, the ask I think that you guys are saying is, let's look ahead moving forward. Maybe we change this ratio. Maybe the ask is that all businesses, I'm just throwing this out there, but I think it might be where you guys are going, that all businesses on Railroad are retail from here on out. That's the kind of change that staff, high-level staff and council and committee can affect. Am I doing a decent job of?
Dead right. And
Okay.
then just to add to that,
Yes.
if it's short term, something that's happening right now with some business or proposed business, that's going to be dealt with like within the existing code and ordinances. We're not allowed to target ordinances at a particular business. So for good reason. But so then where that's the case and you're worried, there's a concern about compliance with existing laws, ordinances, code, that goes to, that's not a council matter, but that it absolutely is staff and administration matter, and they will look at that and
For
as you just
sale
heard,
vans would
yeah.
be code enforcement police. Like
Yep.
we do have rules on the books about how long things can be parked. And Kelly, I have talked with police and I have talked with code enforcement. So that takes, again, no call too small. That means staying ahead of it and being on top of it. So
With regard to vehicles that may be parked. So in most parts of our city, there's the city ordinance requires a car can't be parked in the same place for more than 24 hours. Look, there are many parts of our city where, you know, look, on my street, we don't have a big parking problem. We've got some neighbors that will leave cars there for, you know, weeks at a time. We all know each other. I live on a cul-de-sac, so we all know whose car that is. And you know, if we need a car moved, we actually go knock on their door. Great, so that works there. So the police don't concern themselves with enforcement of the parking on our street, and generally they're, you know, just going to respond on that kind of a topic when someone calls in a complaint. But there are other parts of the city where we have a terrible problem with this, and the police get called and they do enforce. So if you have a place where you're aware of some violation, call staff, in that case, police department, and let them know, and they will come enforce.
Yeah, I just also wanted to, and thank you so much, council member, for sharing that. I also wanted to just share that, for this particular business, we've looked at the types of services they would like to provide. And although we have no application and we have no official, we have no permit to process or anything like that, this is a completely different business model. And there would be no overnight services provided. This is going from, reactive services that shelter people on a day-to-day basis to a proactive approach where, people could come in and get assistance with filling out paperwork for veterans benefits, for, being on a list for future housing, for other benefits that they could apply for at a local, federal, or maybe state level. It would also include, a designated area if there was a state of emergency where, people could come in, and, stay warm during, a disaster. So it is very different from what is currently under operation. So not sure that the same kinds of issues, if there are any issues, would carry over.
So you say that, but like, for instance, the day shelter that's here, they hang out all the time. And I have had several phone calls asking what that was and why there were people they were very, felt uneasy going through there. So there is other there are other reasons, that will also bring that same thing. And we learned something very important from when COVID happened. Things change. And that would definitely have been opened up as a shelter because of COVID. And that went for how many years?
Yeah.
So there's some things that we know now that we didn't know before. And the other thing that I have a question with is, since they have not come in and asked yet for anything, how do we expedite this into, do we need to make a motion with this EDC to actually carry it through, to change that? Is that something that needs to officially be done?
Well, it's a good question. I'm not sure what the motion would be.
Change the retail. Retail.
To actually change the 25. I think it's a coordinated effort. I heard Councilmember Mayhew say that he'd like to bring this back onto Monday night's CD meeting, and I've asked Nicole if she could be there. But if that is the instruction, the direction, it would come back to EDC for processing. I could also say that, at any given moment, since we're at a very fine balance with these numbers, at any given moment, some business could leave, between now and early next year, and then the number would drop and we'd be below 75%. So I do also think there are recommended policies that the EDC committee members will be looking at from the CD economic development element that was very supportive of Railroad Avenue and possibly expanding Railroad Avenue commercial retail district, and prolonging that. So there would be more of an enjoyable shopping retail experience for Snoqualmie.
So at this point, we don't need a motion to bring it to CD.
Or would it help to have it on paper?
Or is it more you'll bring something back to us to discuss?
So I'm going to bring the concepts in this discussion forward to CC. If there's a particular ordinance that you think that you would like to see changed, then what the EDC could do is make a recommendation. So you'd follow your process for making a motion, voting on that, become an EDC recommendation. You could make a recommendation, but you'd want it to be specific, right? We recommend that, all buildings must be painted blue. It'd be a very specific recommendation. So you take the existing code and say that code we're recommending be changed from A to B. So a specific recommendation like that is something the community development committee would then look at, and
So
they'd
Emily,
probably
can
want to
you-
hear from you as well,
can
but
you
yeah.
Actually send out that whatever code we need to look at to change that.
Sure,
threshold,
yeah,
And then we can chew on that.
we could do that, and that could be part of December's meeting.
Great.
And also just looking through, I am not seeing bylaws that were passed for this committee
bylaws.
or commission. So when Mike referred to bylaws, it'd be great to refer to bylaws to say that, the chair only has a 2-year term or a 4-year term, but it does not appear that we have any, and I'm not sure what the next step is, but I'll think about that. If we need to create some, perhaps that should be something that all commissions should consider, including the planning commission. There are some rules though in the municipal code. They just don't speak to these kinds of procedures.
I asked for my own clarification, and on behalf of the EDC, if both of you could walk them through the steps, because what I'm hearing is they're like, change policy. I'm not jesting with you at all, because that's what I'm hearing, but what would the steps be? Because that's going to go to planning, but it goes to CD, could it go straight to council? Like, what is the sequence of steps legally to get this? Would that be helpful to you guys to understand that?
Yeah, it is a recommendation from the commission to the council, and CD would be the next step for them to consider. And if the CD committee instructed staff to continue to move forward, then staff would develop a municipal code amendment that would need to be processed according to the laws, that the city has and the state of Washington. And we would go through a formal code amendment.
So that's exactly right. And then to your question, not to be evasive, it depends. Some things, and this is laid out by state law, some things go to a planning commission. Some things have to have public hearings. So it depends what the particular
Code has to go to council twice. I think it has first reading.
generally there are exceptions, but generally, yeah. So
Your guys' expectations and timelines and process.
Yeah,
It's not just one meeting change.
That's right.
It is somewhere between 0 to 6 months
Yeah.
to make a big effort like this. And it is a considerable effort considering all the priorities that we have. Not saying that it doesn't fall at the top of the priority or the bottom. It just means that we need to incorporate it according to the council's desires on where the priority fits and what the expectation for accomplishment.
Well, and I
would
don't
be.
think for the long term, that's not really, I mean, thank you for clarifying that. I don't think for the long term to protect what the city's proposed to us in the past as a plan, it doesn't need to be immediate. And again, the community and the EDC was kind of shocked last month of the findings. And so this could have been a conversation. Should there be some transparency on what was possibly going on, that the conversation could have been had 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and then this wouldn't even be a conversation today. So that goes back to being collaborative together as a team between the different commissions and also the council for us to do our job. Because
yeah,
we could have this conversation 5 months
Yeah.
ago going, hold on, there's some rumblings that there might be a laundromat. Let's just throw out something completely random. We go,
It-
hold on, that's not our anchor.
It's going on across the city. I mean, we saw this happening on Center Boulevard. We've talked a lot about, the overlay, the retail overlay and extending it. I mean, these are things and concepts that have been in motion for years. And we're just getting our hands on it. A mixed use final plan amendment was just introduced to the planning commission on at the very last meeting, and that sets the ball in motion for the Center Boulevard. So there's things that are happening that are working in favor of economic development. But it's sequential and it takes time.
Also, something that in the last year that I've tried to work in particular with the downtown merchants, and that is that the relationship between the merchants and the landlords is communicative and collaborative. And it truly could happen that there could be a business owner go into a vacant space maybe not doing a whole lot of work, right? Kind of turnkey, go in, present a business license for their business. They've got a plan, right? They've been working behind the scenes for 9 months. It's gonna be their new business, rah, rah. They go to submit a business license and then we say, I'm sorry, it doesn't meet the ratio. That is a very true statement and an outcome. So I've been trying to inform the merchants and reach out to various landlords. Like, we do have policies in place. Stop by City Hall, ask us, talk to us, tell us about your thoughts and dreams and what are your visions, because it's the last thing that we would want to do to somebody. However, we have to honor our code. We have to honor the overlay. We have to honor what we have. So, I've just been beating that drum, like, let's keep talking. And we are so close, you know, and we are all working so hard to have a vital downtown. And I know Councilmember Meany and I, we worked together through COVID, for CARES, for ARPA, to keep, and Kelly, to keep these businesses alive and thriving, and we did. And we also brought new businesses in. So we need to honor that. And there's work, I think, obviously, that we need to do, but we can't all function in our own little vacuum or silo because things could be happening. So, and sadly, sometimes these things are happening and we aren't aware of it, or there's nothing that allows us to be aware of it, or, you know, can be unfortunate.
Nicole, not to pivot too much, but do you have any more information that you could share about the library building across the street?
And is there anybody else, is there hands up or anything else up on
that
the
I can
other
see.
commissioners?
So the is there Jonathan? Or you're not Jonathan, you are Andrew. So the library, the current tenant in there is Reclaim, used to be Snoqualmie Shelter Services, and their lease does expire at the end of the year. And they know that they will have to leave the building. We 6 months ago, as a city, realized, oh, this 3-month contract that we set during COVID, when we knew we wanted to, you know, kind of deal with that building. So we had gone to, I think it was the Parks and Public Works Committee, and we will be putting out a request for proposal. It's we have some lean staffing issues, and we've got a long laundry list of things to do, but we have the direction to do a request for proposal for that building. I was aware of 2 different entities that had expressed some interest in that, and I felt like those entities had kind of pulled back a little bit. So I gave some grace to staff that said, okay, maybe we can, you know, if you have other things on your to-do list, we can move this one. I'm being totally transparent with you guys where we're at. So my best hope is that we would get a request for proposal out before the end of this year for any sort of a group or use of that building. That being said, that building is woefully out of date. It doesn't meet any ADA requirements. It is whoever, and the city, it's not in our budget. We don't have the funds to do anything. So whatever, and I'm kind of speaking grand now, like if anybody were to come into that building, they would be paying the cost to bring that building up to code and to use that. So we are waiting to see what we get, if we get anything. And at that point, we would take those proposals to, again, the sequence of events, to Parks and Public Works Committee. I mean, we had a report done on that building several years ago, and there was even conversation of maybe that building just needs to be, you know, go away. Like maybe keeping it isn't safe. So there's a lot of different things that could be done with that space. But it is currently there. How did I do on that?
Just great. One
Okay.
last thing, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
One last thing, if I could, following, so your downtown merchants, the Downtown Merchants Association meeting that you referred to earlier, there was a lot of noise in the community about that. There's a lot of people became aware of, and there was a lot of discussion. That's the word. Noise is not the correct word. There's a lot of discussion in the community about that meeting and the concerns that were brought up. I became more of I was not at that meeting, but I have talked to now at least half a dozen people that were. Following on that, there's sort of been some discussions to try and learn more about is being proposed and what the concern was and so forth. I'll just say this. I spoke directly to the ED and one of the senior people at that organization. And I have the impression that the entirety of what's being proposed to happen might be a lot different than people think. And that in fact, what's about to happen may be a significant reduction in things that are concerning. So I think maybe that it may be useful for folks to have further discussions and say, okay, wait, tell us the whole picture of what you're planning to do over the next whatever year. And it might be that with a bigger picture, either the concerns change or they remain, or maybe they lessen. So I do think there's a lot in that discussion that may not yet have come out as to what's being planned.
I think you are correct, but it's also, there's been way more conversations than just at the downtown
course.
merchants within that
Group,
group.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and it's been directly with me, directly with other people, and I have a good relationship with that director.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's going to change and pivot, but from the standpoint of historic downtown merchants, that's the conversation.
Got it.
It's not what they're doing. Again, that's 100% supported within the community. It's needed, et cetera. It's just that. But
Yep.
yes, we're
Got it.
very aware that it's going to look very different than what it does now, but it's still not merchant.
Yeah, understand. Understand completely.
So, okay, online, any comments or feedback?
None from me.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, so on to the next, which would be business visitations. I know I tried to reach out and failed on my couple ones with just timelines to be able to meet together. Did anybody get out in the business visits?
Can I just say one thing about the visits? Our businesses right now, the business owners are working their jobs. And so it might take a little extra, especially during this time period. So don't think that it's anything negative. It's just that this is after COVID. It's a whole new ballgame.
Well, that's just even Joelle's one of my people, just us trying to figure out how to connect and we communicate.
And I completed, I think 4 or 5 over like summer, late summer. And then I completed 2 this past week, but I still have a couple more on my list that I've committed to, but it's been hard to connect with the business owners. But I think if we continue that as an ongoing work.
What I would like to propose is perhaps I could meet with the commissioners that have met with businesses. I know this information is confidential. People want to be anonymous, all that. But in looking at how this business visitation program was done in the past, perhaps in January, I meet with you guys, create a recap of what you heard, and then we can create a presentation to the EDC, because you've had these meetings, but we don't know what's, we haven't been able to extract the conversations.
Download it.
Yeah. So how does that sound as far as a timeline?
I don't know, since I'm not an actual commissioner, but I actually have met with quite a few of them as well. And I have some other feedback on some of that. So I would love to
Okay.
give some of that.
Why don't I set up a meeting with people in the first couple of weeks in January, and if businesses are willing to put their name to the document, that's great. If they're not, I just want to have some data, have some performance measures, like 15 businesses were spoken to, something so that we can create a recap of what those conversations in 2023 were, if that seems fair.
That'd be great.
Okay. All right. We'll get that done.
Okay, and then I think, Emily, you're the last topic of work program.
Oh, that's right. The work program is a work in progress, I should say. And although we had a significant body of work for 2023, this year is obviously coming to an end, and then we would look to try and establish the work program items for 2024. And so some of that information had been added here at the very bottom, but again, this is a work in progress, and I think that we should really decide what what will be the body of work that you want to focus in on for 2024. And it seems like, the downtown, issue that we're just discussing, tourism, should be a top priority in conjunction with, your business visitation. So I also added some training in there that I think that could be really beneficial. And, we could look for better training, but I am aware of some training that Department of Commerce has provided. And although you've been invited to training in the past, that training included, like the short course on local planning that was more appropriate probably for the Planning Commission and the City Council. Similar training is also offered at Commerce that we could bring forward in small segments and incorporate, so it's not overbearing and burdensome, but gives you something more to think about from economic development. Any thoughts about that, or, do you want to have a discussion about adding anything? We could certainly bring this back for January if people want to think about it. And like, it is a work in progress. So, I think that, there's still a little bit of time. And traditionally, we'd get this work program kind of geared up and then share it with the CD committee so they could look at it and kind of bless it. And point, there might be a joint meeting, or maybe the chair attends the CD meeting and presents the work program for the upcoming year. So just to give you a heads up about how that all kind of functions.
Comments online?
I think just along with the business visitations, it would be helpful, and Bobby and I were speaking about this, it would be helpful to understand if you are going to the Ridge Business Park, if you're talking to businesses in there, what are their expansion needs? We do have proposed on the work program for 2024, business park expansion. That does include a significant body of work in the community development department as far as annexations goes. So if we're needing to gear up to an annexation, which I think we've all been talking about for a long time, when would we do that? How much would we annex? We have to think about it methodically and in advance. There's a lot of preliminary steps, that need to happen in order to get to an end result of expansion in that area. Some of the nice things that we do have in place is we do have plan designations for those areas. It is intended to provide an expanded area for these businesses to grow. Is this a real need right now when you're meeting with these businesses?
Emily, we do have those in our questions.
Perfect.
To ask
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
What keeps your business here, long-term plans, future development, tourism concerns? So that's already a list of questions.
Yeah.
So I just want to share this one thing with you guys that probably nobody in this room knows, but the chamber has a CEO roundtable that is up at the industrial park that I would be happy to January is our next one. So this is something that's really critical, and I would happy to allow that to. We can talk more about that with they're all the CEOs that are up there.
Yeah, I think it's really important to get a good grip on it. I have no grip on it right now, other than, we've got the land use designation in place. We've heard rumblings that businesses need to expand. What's the real lay of the land right now? Like, and how quickly would we need to move on something like this? And, then we need to get a game plan in place to make it happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just wondering, do you have a question that asks something like, what could the city change to help your business succeed? I assume there's a question pretty much like that in there.
Anything we need to do, any recommendations? There is preventing your business to grow. I mean, it's elaborated a little bit more. What does the city do well to support your business? Any interaction with the city staff, what keeps your business here, long-term plans, benefits for your business in Snoqualmie, some transportation, employee, and then some basic stuff.
Okay, because we're usually pretty good at asking, hey, what should we keep doing well, or what do we, but that question of, hey, I just remember asking a question of that of one of our at a business meeting we had here, one of our pizza restaurant owners, and it was really remarkable. Just there was a clear, immediate answer: do this, and I was just like, wow. And so I just reflect back on that often, that these business owners may be able to answer a clear, well, what's the one thing we're not doing that you wish we would do to help you? So as long as you're eliciting that, I think that could be really helpful.
A few different ways it's worded in here. Yes, Emily?
Kelly, at that meeting, I think one of the most important questions I would want to know about, are any of those businesses in immediate desire of moving out of the community?
there are.
Okay, and how many are there, and where would they plan to go? And could we convince them to stay if we could deliver something to them within a certain time frame?
Okay. The other thing that has been going crazy, I've so many questions and people have come up to us, is the signage again, like crazy. And then the other thing that is happening right now that I don't know, the city, Dan has been doing a great job communicating, but there's a little bit more information that needs to be out there about what's going to actually happen with the interchange by the hospital. And also with the what's happening with SR 18 and then there's non-communication with the people that are the subcontractors or contractors that are doing 18. And that has been a huge issue, and we've not been able to address it correctly and had enough help on that. WashDOT is another one that we're working on. And then the other thing that is about to happen and nobody's been talking about is the culverts on 90 that are about to be shut down. And that means that the 90 will be shut down at those bridges, and there will be detours that go around those bridges on 90, plus the SR 18 happening at the same time. And that is happening very quickly. And we've not seen any information on that to our businesses. And Mayor Lou Pauley has been the one that has been sounding the alarm on that. That's Issaquah mayor. And I would like to possibly ask to help the businesses with that, because that's going to be a huge factor in not only people coming here, but what we're seeing right now is because of not having the communication with SR 18 when things are closing, when things have changed, we've lost some really big key people. And I know Nicole, the hospital has lost a couple of key people as well. From this, as that, because it's literally 2 hours of commute time now to get back and forth over 18. And so we just need communication to know maybe we can change the hours of their work schedule or something to get this through for people. So that is a huge need. I don't know, Nicole, if she's still there.
I'm here. Yeah, we've definitely been struggling, and thank you to the city or DOT, whoever it was that painted the box out in front of our intersection, because our staff was struggling to safely come and go to and from work also when the traffic piles up. And I know that's a temporary problem with construction, but we've had people, medical assistants and otherwise, actually give notice after their first or second day of work, just because the commute has been so burdensome for them. And that's been really disappointing, because good people are really hard to come by. We know it'll get better in the long term, and we're supportive of this work, but it is a challenge for us right now.
Yeah. And so this is a challenge with everyone that's up on the ridge. And so, and also our schools and the casinos had quite a few people leave as well on that. So just again, begging that somehow, some way we can get more communication with that contractor. Senator Mullet was here with us at our last CEO roundtable. And I think that's probably how that happened, because he did take it back to WashDOT for you, Nicole. But I just want to make sure that we grasp a hold of this, because this is going to be a huge issue for us.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else have anything? No further business to come for the commission?
Somebody's raising their hand.
Looks like Ashley raised her hand. But that might have been.
Yeah, hi Chair Bobby. Kelly mentioned something about signage, and I just wanted to say now that I've completed all these grants that I've applied for, Nicole and I will be making some serious headway on getting that updated. I'm hoping to get a completely completed list on what to do for like what to take down, what to update, what to replace to Public Works by the end of the year. And then the Public Works employees should be able to help us pretty quickly thereafter. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Anyone else online, or should we entertain the motion to adjourn? There is a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those approve, say A.
Hey,
Those opposed, say nay. Good, motion is passed. It is now 9:54 on November 15th of 2023. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone online.
have a great day, everyone.